Welcome back to Ulti TV's coverage of Windmill 2022. We're returning to the Open Division for this matchup between Ranelagh of Ireland and Iznogood of France. Benjamin Rees alongside Rachel Douglas, and Iznogood starting with a little bit of zone. Maybe just see if they can catch Ranelagh off guard. So the transition's coming now into one-on-one. Looking downfield, gonna zing that blade to the back corner, and Ranelagh made that look easy.
Yeah, nice comfortable offensive point there for Ranelagh, not too upset about that zone. Speaking to Iznogood before the game, they said that they were looking to try out some new stuff, but generally their plan was just to make sure that they're sticking to their system. So I think all tournament we're going to see some new looks from them, things that they're testing out, but fundamentally, like, you know, they're putting out this zone, and if it doesn't work, they're going to keep putting it out until it does work, I think, was the impression I got in terms of their approach to this. So I think we will be seeing some different looks from them, and some of them are going to work better than others, but that's what they're here to do. I think they're here to learn this weekend. And perhaps the zone could use a little bit more work to tighten up, to put a bit more pressure, since Ranelagh didn't seem too bothered by it at that point.
No, with the Swiss draw especially, you can maybe afford to try some things out. Just make sure that your coefficient's high enough to get into that top 8 bracket. And then once you're there, you can, maybe that's where you tighten things up a little bit more.
Both teams are coming into this game having lost a game so far already. Ranelagh played against Fab, traded points after going down early and then coming back, but then it traded out the game, unfortunately losing that one. Iznogood having a sudden death loss against Chevron. They played Chevron at Tom's tourney. They lost to Chevron at Tom's tourney, but then of course went on to win that whole tournament. So coming back into this tournament, it was a great matchup, and they managed to take them to sudden death, but weren't able to close out that game. So both teams coming in firing, hoping to come away with a win, reset their stats, and try out their systems and put it all on the field.
Here is a very familiar figure striding to the brick mark. The legendary Nasser Mbeyvogel, playing with Iznogood, played with pretty much every top team in Europe throughout the course of his career. Here's White coming underneath. Bouchon out to space, trying to shoot that towards the end zone. This is going to float a little bit and over everyone's head. Erik Becker-Shonyo couldn't bring it in, and a little bit of discussion here maybe.
Slightly exasperated look. It's never quite clear if someone's just upset with themselves or making a call there, but this discussion does look like there's perhaps some feeling that something was, maybe some contact there. It's unclear.
It's not a great throw, to be honest.
I don't think that was going to be, that would have taken a huge play to come down with, and it didn't look like the contact was that significant. So I think they've called no effect, they've called turnover, and I think that's probably the right resolution there.
So Ranelagh with an early break chance here, and in these shortened games with no with a very hard cap, you know, breaks whenever you get them, so important. Looking for the around towards the sideline. Shot deep, they've got a target. It's McCreary, can he read it? Or will Shardlow get his own back? This time he gets another of a tip to mack it out of the back of the end zone.
Yeah, McCreary looked like he had position there, but two red shirts closed in on him pretty quickly, and number 77 for Iznogood doing a great job to make sure that he closed that out and got that disc away from McCreary.
So second time of asking, what can Iznogood come up with? Nas will bring it to the front line once more. White, plenty of space, time to pick his options, and it's Lucas Bouchon. Bouchon low, tries to sneak this up line through to White. White sets his feet, Shardlow now in the middle of the park. Tries to get that inside break, doesn't like it, instead goes back to Mbevo. Runs a nice little 1-2 with White. Their chemistry has been on point in this season. They've linked up really well. And then there's White at the front of the end zone, all alone for 1-1.
Yeah, White's been, he was a pivotal player at Tom's. We really saw him making huge plays. In that point, it looked a little bit like he didn't really need to do that much, just stand still and they'll get the disc to him. Not sure what was going on with his defense there, perhaps trying to kind of move into the lane, put some pressure on, yeah, perhaps just a little bit of a miscommunication there, and White was wide open, which, of course, for a player like that is not something that you can afford.
Yeah, that's, for two players of that quality, feels a bit easy.
Yeah, open throw to open player. Not sure that's going to fly if Ranelagh want this game. They can't give anything like that.
No, it's a Ranelagh roster that's the past few years. I say the past few years. COVID. But last year especially, they really had an upturn in performance. Came home with, I think they finished 4th in Euros at the end, just missing out on that bronze medal by maybe a point or so. But they've really overtaken Pelt as the top open team in the country at the moment, and one of the best sides in Europe now.
It seems like they're doing a lot of sort of development work as well. They've got 29 players here this weekend, many of whom this is their first tournament outside of Ireland, and for many of them it's their first tournament outside of college. So they do have a big squad. They've got a lot of younger players, like, you know, sort of newish to the sport, which is really exciting for a team that's doing as well as you say, to be really focusing on developing talent.
Deep put for Ranelagh. Stretching out the levers there is Murphy. Murphy to the end zone. Pearce has it for the score, and it's 2-1. Ranelagh's offense, at least their offense from their O-line, has been cleaner than Iznogood's, I think, early on.
Yeah, quite like decisive plays there at each moment. They sort of knew what they were looking for, barely held the disc for any time at all. That long put, I think he had it for just a second or two and knew exactly where he wanted to throw it. Well received, and then, yeah, immediately continuation was ready. So great for Ranelagh. They're clearly showing they're kind of the class of play, and we know Iznogood also know how to switch it on. So very excited to see how this game progresses. I think it's going to be a really competitive one and an amazing opportunity that we're here to stream it.
Yeah, isn't it just? The algorithm works its wonders once more. All hail to the almighty algorithm. See the pride flag fluttering in the background? Remnants of Rainbow Brigade, maybe?
Lots of rainbows around the tournament, actually. You see lots of wristbands, lots of hairbands, lots of laces across teams with sort of little snippets of pride worn on there, whether it's in their uniform or accessorized, but definitely a strong theme here this weekend.
Yeah, Windmill's really leaned into it this year.
As we all should.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. No shame in that at all. Faking that high release. So it goes to Spek, who's right in the middle of things there. White's just lurking. Just standing in space, seemingly like he's almost not interested. And there's the blade down the sideline to zing it to him. White lashes deep. There's a player wide open, but the throw's going to hang a little bit, and he suckered him into the going up too early. That is really smart defense there from Ranelagh.
That was incredibly smart. They were doing a zone in that point, and I thought at one moment number 17 perhaps hadn't noticed the fact that someone had gone deep. Perhaps Bogan had not realised that someone had gone deep. But I did actually see him look over his shoulder, and you see that as the disc goes up, he knew that he could cover that ground, and yeah, he played that incredibly well, forcing the Iznogood player to try and take it early, and of course ended up being a total misread. So it's
so easy. You see someone else go up, and you feel like you have to go up as well. But Ryan's had so much more time than he thought.
Yeah, it was really smart defense because he wasn't going to get the Ranelagh player wasn't going to get a play on the disc himself, so he played that perfectly.
High stall, Ranelagh having to put it deep. I think the wind might push this out of the sideline. Does indeed. I mean, on a high stall, got to get rid of it, I guess, but the wind is picking up ever so slightly, which I'm a big fan of.
Yeah, it does increase the sort of interest. You might be able to see on your screens there are some flags fluttering in the background, but I'd say the wind's kind of coming from the right side of the field, like sort of from this side, the camera side, down towards the tent. So it's sort of a upwind, downwind, but also a crosswind. So teams will be needing to adjust. They will be needing to think about how they're releasing and what kind of touch they're putting on all of their throws, or we're going to see more going outside of the field.
Yeah, you're seeing a shot of the official tournament play discs there. Being surprised by Eurodisc being brought back in after that sideline throw for Giffard. Couldn't reach the target. Iznogood again. They're forcing Ranelagh into high stalls, and it's the high stall hammer of all things towards the back corner. Well, placed it if there was only someone ready to be there or to chase it down in time. As it is, again, just playing the field position game here, Ranelagh, because they've found nothing after the turn.
I mean, it was an unbelievable throw from Peters there, but unfortunately that just wasn't, there was no connection. Ranelagh really need to make sure that their cutters are putting in the work to get free.
Big hammer over the top of that front line of the zone. White dishing off with Van der Wood. It's got Nguyen in the backfield. Ranelagh trying to switch things up a little bit. Cheeky blade over the top to Pluon Martin. Here's Giffard with that distinctive braid behind his head. Is that braid or a plait? It's a plait, isn't it?
Depends what country you're in.
Ah, oui, oui. Here's White to Bekesh on Nguyen. Trying to run the show in the backfield at the moment. Finds Nguyen. Overview Nguyen with a rather ugly looking scuba, in all honesty. But it works, so what do I know?
Yeah, that didn't look sort of like a majestic execution of a well-planned play. It looked like he managed to get it in the space that he needed, and it fell the right way. It twisted towards the cutter, but it was not a sort of a nice, beautiful scuba arcing through the air. That did seem a little bit of a gritty one.
I think he knew what he was doing. He saw the player in the space and just maybe thought he had to use that slightly awkward angle. I'm just saying that's the perfect arc for a thumber right there. That's all I'm saying. We
can make sure we feed that back after the game. Give them notes.
We'll get in Coach Rapazzo's ear. I'm sure he'll understand my point of view.
I'm certain he'll agree with you. Not enough thumbers is what he'll say.
Yeah, but probably in a lot more nasal, grating voice. Love you, Steph. So the team's tied at 2s. So the ball goes up from Iznogood. Combre. Into the centre of the park where it's caught by Ranelagh. Back on offence. O-line hasn't turned it over yet so far. What can they do here? Here's McCreary with that, I'll call it distinctive mullet.
Decisive mullet.
Yeah, but an undecisive throw. Indecisive throw. Why couldn't I remember the English word for that? Fenrich dumps it back to Shot. Izno looking for the game's first break here. Udom Fong, oh, with that wicked low release, finds the target of Simon Ruel. That'll be the game's first break. And, well, Izno's O-line haven't looked great, but they've been able to earn their turns back. Whereas that's the first time Izno have turned it over, first time Ranelagh's O-line have turned it over, and they've been ruthlessly punished.
Yeah, the Ranelagh O-line, well, the Ranelagh offense generally at the moment just is looking a little bit shaky. Like they're not really, they're seeing Izno's tight defense, or in some points it's been zone defense, but it's smothering and it's repressive, and they're taking up a lot of space. And rather than Ranelagh kind of responding to that and making sure they're being decisive and creating space and getting their cutters free, we're seeing, I mean, that last point we saw a turnover on just a shaky dump pass, you know, and that's not going to be what they're wanting to do in this game. I know that they've come to this tournament to build chemistry as a team and to find their connections and to kind of work across their full lines and their full roster. So that they're not necessarily coming in, you know, with a win-win-win attitude. I think that's the same for both teams. But that being said, they are going to want to demonstrate what they can do and play the best that they can play. And I think for Ranelagh right now, that's really not what we're seeing. We're not seeing that offensive cohesion and kind of competitiveness and grit that we know that they're going to want to be showing us.
I think one of the key names who is notable by their absence for Ranelagh is Ferdia Rogers, who's crafted himself into one of the best handlers in Europe and would be a loss for any side. But it creates opportunity for someone else to step up and really try and marshal the offense.
Ferdia is here on the sideline, so he's here to kind of give sage advice, but perhaps not be on the field himself.
Here's a deep put from Ranelagh. Murphy's going to try and chase this down. He was looking for the toe drag, but I don't think he got it right. He's called out, and there is no disagreement.
Yeah, Sam Murphy doing an excellent job there, like really huge effort to try and keep that in. I think perhaps at the last minute when he saw the line, he actually saw the sideline of the next field rather than the sideline of that field. So he was quite well out when he received that, but it was a very excellent, very athletic effort nonetheless.
Some Iznogood players making the most of the shade that our little tent's providing. As Izno back on offense, oh, this is a low, flat arc, and there were two Ranelagh players there to knock it down. Not sure whether Stewart or Pearce got more of it, but I'm not sure it really matters. This is a deep put, looking for Murphy. This one's on the spot for 3 apiece.
Yeah, Murphy, I think he just seems to have the strategy of if I'm the deepest person, then I've always got a straight line to the end zone and they're going to hit me. That's 2 times they tried to get it to him. Second time, very successful, in for the score. Very nice. Yeah,
it must be quite reassuring as a deep threat, knowing that if you've got that bit of separation, your handlers, they've got the trust that they and the ability that they will put it to you. It's a nice show of faith, I think.
Definitely, and it really sort of incentivizes those cuts to be hard and to make them sort of a serious cut. I think you often see some teams who perhaps are a little bit tentative in some of that early movement. They don't know if it's going to get thrown, or that, you know, and they don't know if they need to come under, and that can just like clog up the space and take up room. Ranelagh don't seem to have that issue. They know if they make that cut and they're free, just about every handler on the line will be able to put it to them. So it's a great incentive to make that a really convincing cut. Which they did there really well, and that was received right in stride, nice and open, lovely.
So 3 apiece, but is no good to break up. Just under 20 minutes gone here. 3s, please. Here's Mbaye Vogel. Chinking and jiving in the backfield, gets the reset off. And now, huge over-the-top throw into the hands of Joe White. White wants to feather a flick towards the far sideline. Guillaume Martin runs a little bit of a 1-2 with Lucas Bouchon into the end zone for 4-3 to Izno.
Ranelagh putting on his own look there. basically, I think Iznogood found the gap. Obviously, that was an incredible overhead throw, pinpoint precision throw. They weren't able to get a defensive effort on that throw. And then Ranelagh did an amazing job of just hustling down there, making sure all of their players, Iznogood did a great job of hustling down there, making sure all of their players were moving into that space. Ranelagh were on the back foot. Iznogood just managed to get those couple 1-2s. Defense didn't have time to collect, didn't have time to set up, and they put that score in very convincingly. That was a really, really decisive move from Izno.
Nuss absolutely rips that hammer. And as you mentioned, it's right in the breadbasket for White. It's so reassuring as a player who's playing downfield in a zone where you can just sit in that open space and you know that, again, your handlers, they've got those creative throws that are going to be able to hit you in those spots.
It's difficult because I think sometimes in those zone positions you don't know where, you're standing there and they may never hit you, but actually having you there as an option, having a thrower that can make that sort of precision, unbelievable overhead is so useful, and you might be tempted to go and get stuck in, but White obviously just using his expertise there and trusting that his teammates are going to have the throws and use the throws.
So Ranelagh back on offense here, and Ranelagh ripping it deep. Got a tall receiver running after it and running it down. Rory Keogh makes a catch from the huck from McCreary. What a throw, coast to coast for 4-all.
Massive effort from Rory Keogh there. You can see him just hustling down there, arms pumping, just making sure not giving up until the last moment. And he obviously had that step on his defender, and yeah, that was just an amazing effort off of a huge throw, that forehand flick coming from McCleary. So incredible. And yeah, that was an amazing play.
And they are clearly jazzed about it.
That's what Ranelagh are one of the teams, like they know how to get themselves fired up. They aren't afraid to get vocal and support each other and just be generally very excited, celebrate their victories, So great to see an amazing point like that, and then a team that's really going to celebrate each other for it.
Yeah, I think these are both sides that are not impartial to riding the waves of emotion at times.
Yeah, to their benefit or their detriment, maybe.
Yes, both of those things. But it does make it more interesting, getting a shot of coach Steph Rapazzo there for Iznogood. First full season coaching them, and it's after the reduced season last year, of course. And it's paid dividends because already they've added Tom's Tourney, first ever win there, and with a thrilling victory in Universe, took the French national titles, and you can watch that game, of course, on demand on the OTTV YouTube channel, as a miscommunication gives the disc to Ranelagh. Chance for the lads to take the lead. Travel called. It's Corcoran here. White checks it back in. Reset to Fletcher. Fletcher trying to find the reset, who's squirreling around. Just about gets it off to Corcoran. Now zinged through to Keogh. Caught that last point. Murphy. Switching players back and forth between the two lines. Squeezed in there. Stewart towards the end zone. But Bekesh on you is able to get a bit of the disc and piece it away.
Unbelievable defensive play there, really putting their body on the line. Great read of what's happening. That was a very small space that Ranelagh were trying to squeeze that disc through, and yeah, with players like this on the field, you've got to know that they're going to do everything they can to get that defensive turn. So not sure I like that option, but amazing work from Izno to make sure they secured that D.
Yeah, lightning quick reactions to know he was going to have to lay out, and then the athleticism as well to actually get to it as well. Iznogood's O-line, they've turned it over a few times, but they do know how to get it back. Oh, hello, we've been brought ice lollies.
Oh, wow, okay.
Here we go, I'm trying to commentate while this is going on. Here's Rhines to White. Lucas Bouchon. Going for the rocket lolly as well, nice. Other ice lollies are available, especially if they sponsor us. Becker Chonyu towards the far sideline, finds Prion Martin. Fakes the blade, Becker Chonyu. Prion Martin back in his hands, towards the far sideline, blades on target.
Yeah, that was a very open player, but no calls been made, so not sure what happened there in terms of defense that they were able to get so free that was just an open side throw. Very, very comfortable. Again, as we said earlier in the game, that's just not something that you can afford to be doing. These are two teams that really want to put each other under a huge amount of pressure. You know, want to keep turning it up, and you cannot give them anything, let alone incredibly open players.
Yeah, feels like a bad strategy, to be honest. Iznogood, again, they're making mistakes, but they're sparing their blushes by getting it back, and they've taken the lead once more at 5-4, a break up in this game.
I think it's got to be said that coming out of the kind of hard games they had at Windmill and then ultimately coming away with the title at Windmill is no good.
Do you mean Tom's?
Sorry, I do mean Tom's.
It's all right.
Maybe that was a prophecy. Maybe that was, I don't know, we'll
prediction,
see.
Put it out there.
Excuse me, early flight this morning, forgive me. At Tom's, coming away with the title, I do think that there's a huge amount that it does for your sort of mental game as a team. Some say it might increase the pressure at a tournament like this to kind of follow on from an act like that, but actually I think it also gives you that kind of confidence. You know, they had really hard-fought games, they had losses at Tom's, and of course that final was just an epic showdown, really huge game. So tight, such an unbelievable one to watch, but they came away with the win, and that came through their hard work and their grit and determination. So I think it is really helpful to have that as a team and as a line to know that you have it if you want it.
So zone coming out from Iznogood. Ranelagh dealt with this well early on, but just again showing that they might bring it out at points. Maybe if they can make their opponents just holster for a split second longer, they can find those turnovers. Ooh, maybe a little bit fumble, but
just managed to toe it in there, but there was a moment where he had to sort of stumble to keep his toe in. And then of course, straight into a turnover, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether that was a miscommunication with Kelly not quite expecting it. Either way, the disc goes back Izno's way, and the only other time the Ranelagh O-line turned it over, Izno put it in. Gibier rips it deep. Couple of players there, and Ranelagh earn it back. Snatched away in the end by Enda Kelleher. Kelleher has it now, wants to break towards the sideline. Towed in. Again, you can see that they're struggling really to find that downfield movement.
Izno putting them under a huge amount of pressure.
And the put goes to the far sideline, and the winner is the stack of pallet woods that might well be ending up on the fire.
Yeah, a little bit of wind with that, I think, but I think fundamentally that was just a kind of I'm not even sure it was that high a stall, but I think a sort of a high pressure throw. You know, they're feeling under a lot of pressure. Not seeing the options they want downfield, not seeing the movement they're really looking for. We've seen a couple of throws in that last possession. Ranelagh really having to tow it right into the line. They're incredibly wide. That's where they were finding the space, but those margins are really narrow. So they're really going to have to try and make sure that they're fighting for that space infield.
Cheeky little inside flick there. This one's floated. You can see the wind having a little bit of an effect on that, but not a problem for Shock. Shock low into the centre, really quick hands there from Red. Gibier wants to float this one, but it is definitely going to float. And Iznogood again waste the opportunity. Pigeon was the player they were trying to find.
I think that was good work from the Ranelagh players to read that was going to sit and just make sure they tracked that all the way through. Number 17, I think, Bone coming in to try and help out with that defense and doing a good job there to put pressure on Izno and not let them come down with that one. Ranelagh now on the end zone line with the disc again. We saw them really struggling with that in the last possession. And a fumble. That was just an unfortunate drop there. Didn't only put one hand to it. Wasn't able to bring it down, but that's unlucky. That's perhaps just a little bit of a lack of concentration there.
Shock picks up. Breaks around to red. Low. Ooh, lost balance a little bit. Gets up, no problem. And wants to force that one down the sideline. I mean, your reaction, I think tells me all I need to know, but what do you think of that?
Well, it's just outrageous. He was just falling over and he still managed to get the perfect throw out. It's ridiculous. Yeah, no, I've normally when I watch Ultimate, I'm quite a sort of like a vocally responsive person. You know, I like gasp and shout at things. So since taking up commentary, I've had to try and manage that a bit for the benefit of the viewers. So it's generally now more physical responses, and yeah, you had a front row seat to some shock and awe there. Yeah,
Begwan Demo just really sees a window where we had not, and finds a way to get it in there for the score. Iznogood creating a little bit of separation now. 6-4 the current score, but again, plenty of time for Ranelagh to come back in this contest.
Yeah, I think this is still a hugely competitive game. There's no, and it will be right the way to the end. I think each score is. Have we had a clean offensive hold yet?
We had some early on, and then now it's gotten a little bit more attritional, I'll say.
Yeah, a little bit more scrappy. The wind's picking up. It's getting a little bit more gusty. As we said, it's sort of coming from this camera side down towards the tents behind the field. It's a bit gusty. It's not steady. So perhaps that's also going to be contributing to the game experience.
Ball lands in for Iznogood. So Ranelagh back on offense. That is no good. Coming out in zone. Sounds like they're counting passes as well.
The Ranelagh is really talking to each other, like come in, or move wider. They're having to really direct traffic.
Communication is key, and I think the loud shouting from Iznogood leads me to believe that they're now dissolving into going to one-on-one. Thought there was an opportunity for a deep shot. Ranelagh disagree. Faking the big. Looking low into a dangerous space. A couple of players bid for it, but neither of them can come up with it, and that'll be a turn. And oh yeah, that disc is definitely not flat. Some tasty tacos. I should get my taco jersey on.
Izno setting up with a lot of space. It was a very sort of disciplined setup there, but not able to do anything with it, unfortunately. Lots of space set up, and disc came in a little bit low, and ultimately not able to bring it down.
Shot comes flying in to try and get it back. There's a player open deep. The throw's going to sail a little bit, but I think it will be reeled in time in the back of the end zone for the score. Number 55, Rory Keogh, gets himself back on the score sheet for 6-5. These ice creams are melting on us rapidly, so we might shut commentary off for 30 seconds. Otherwise, we're going to end up in a sticky mess. See, it seems like a good idea, and then, yeah, no.
I think when we accepted them, we sort of didn't anticipate how much we would still need to be talking, which is sort of the job, so that was our oversight. But it is an incredibly hot day here at Windmill. You can see on the field, probably lots of people that were sweating, but also on the sidelines, you've got lots of people constantly applying sun cream, ice creams melting, lots of people flirting with dehydration. So stay safe out there, kids. Cover up, sit in the shade, drink lots of water, eat your ice creams before they melt. You know, the usual health advice.
Does eating your ice cream before it melts really constitute health advice?
It depends who you ask, and I say yes.
F1 meaning bicycle. Yeah, Jay. Oh, use it! Use it!
One pass turnover there from Izno, not able to make what didn't seem to be a very complex catch, but Ranelagh straight in with the goal, putting that in, number 13.
That is Alan Pearce.
Alan Pearce.
Yeah, it seems it is no good, much like me trying to wolf down that ice cream. Had a temporary bit of brain freeze there. Because that one just straight turfed and Ranelagh greedily accept the break. Level at 6 apiece, still a breakdown, but they've just opened the door for Ranelagh a little bit there.
Yeah, I want to say it's like an uncharacteristic error, but I think we are seeing those, like sort of a pinch of those in across the games. So far, Izno have made a few of those sort of uncharacteristic errors. They've made enough of them. I think maybe they stopped being classified as uncharacteristic.
Yeah.
But equally, they are kind of, they're sort of weird, you know, like with the rest of the plays that they're making, and those same players that are perhaps fumbling some of these easier catches are making enormous saves, enormous grabs at other points. It's a bit strange to kind of see that same player then not secure, you know, a dump pass.
I mean, at French Nationals last week, they were 6-1 up at Chak at the start, and they were cruising, and it came all the way back to Universe, and Chak at one point had the disc at 13-0 with a chance to take the lead. And yes, some of that was good defensive pressure, but Iznogood, they do give you some turnovers. They are not a flawless offense. It's just usually they're very good at getting it back.
As we said earlier, they're sort of quite an emotional team, really. Sort of when they're up, and when they're down, they're down. And I think what we saw in the final of Tom's was them digging in to kind of change their trajectory and really make sure they're upping their game and playing how they wanted to play and make sure they close out that game, which of course they did very successfully. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they manage to respond to it. As we said before, they did say before the game that they're really focusing on running their systems and trying their systems out and seeing where they work and where they don't work, but really committing to them. So they're willing to accept some losses within that, but I think what they won't accept as a team are any sort of losses of points or games on the basis of drops and throwaways, because that's not the systems, you know, that's not them working out the kinks, that's just execution errors.
So coming into this game, these sides 9th and 10th in Swiss draw, but Iznogood had a ranking of 3.5 and Ranelagh's 0.6875. So Iznogood theoretically should be winning this by about 3 points, at least if you believe the almighty algorithm, which I'm not sure Ranelagh do. Here's the deep put from Nas, and that one actually just didn't, I don't know, it just felt like it came out really undercooked.
Yeah, that sort of went up with some optimism and then just immediately died, you know, that just dropped right down. I don't know if that was wind or if that was something about the execution, but that will not have been what they were looking for. Ranelagh now with the disc.
Low throw rising a little bit. Ida. Oh wow, that was a really tight coverage on that dump throw, but it went anyway. Iznogood got the turn, and this time Mbaye to White is on the money. 7-6.
Yeah, I don't. The dump movement, I don't know if that was a late initiation from the thrower looking at their dump, but it just seemed really frantic, you know. They didn't like create the space, didn't make the cuts to create space to get free, and ultimately ended up having a disc lasered directly at them. Sort of with their defensive player right on their shoulder. I don't know if defense got the hand to it. From this angle it was impossible to tell, but having to make a really big bid to try and get there, and it was an incredibly hard throw and catch to kind of come off.
Yeah.
And then of course Izno picking up, and Joe White's in the end zone, of course they're going to throw it to him.
Yeah, it's one of those things, I know you want to be sensible, take the reset, whatever, but especially if the stall count's rising a little bit, if that dump's as covered as that is, I don't know if I wouldn't just be tempted to jack it. But then I'm kind of always tempted, so take it with a pinch of salt.
Well, I mean, time and place for jacking it, but I think if you're trying to pass to someone who's incredibly tightly marked and they are not free, you know, you've got to look at percentages. If that's like a really low percentage turnover, and it's very high likelihood of a turnover, but there's a very low gain from it. You know, you're going laterally, you're not gaining any yards. If the alternative is another percentage, a similar percentage throw, which is also a high percentage of a turnover, but you're going to put it right down the end zone, then I think that's the desirable option there.
So Ranelagh, here's McCreary. It's a little bit like the Australian leg spinner and example, which is a very niche reference that I don't understand. Here it is on the far sideline. Faking deep downfield, springing up in the centre to catch that pass O'Grady. That high, tight bun. Now zipped downfield. Looking to get a reset off. Finds Doyle. Doyle dishes down the sideline with that lefty. Can they force it in the front cone, or will they go back? Page is trying to make himself a nuisance on the dump reset. Into the end zone and into the floor.
I think into number 45, I think he was straight into sort of his path, and he managed to get a block on that one, I believe.
It's difficult to tell because we have a camera operator sitting right in front of me. Nick. You should know better by now, come on.
That felt like a learning moment for Nick. I'm not sure it landed.
Got there in the end. Pigeon down the far sideline. Izno looking to break for half. Into the centre of the pitch is Gibier. Gibier, a little bit bladey, not a problem though. Page. Page, oh, this is gonna float. This is gonna be spicy. Tipped on and you don't catch your D. That's what happens. How many times do I have to say this? Iznogood break for half, 8-6.
That was outrageous reactions from number 7. Number 7? I think it was
it's
number
Chris
7.
Red, yeah, number 7.
Number 7, wow. That like sort of popped on, trying to give that Mac, just giving it enough sauce, the Ranelagh player, to get it out the end zone and away from Iznogood, but just such quick reactions. Just pops out a hand, comes down with it. Amazing. That was amazing.
Let's have a look at it again on the replay. Page has it. He sees the option that he likes. Oh, it's not. It's actually not red. So here we go. Looks for Begawan Demo. It's Macton, and it's
number 2.
Yeah, it's Pigeon in the back of the end zone who makes the catch in the end. That'll give Iznogood the break for half, and I think they're receiving to come to begin the second period as well. So so twice as nice there for Iznogood, and yeah, the defender just had a bit more time actually than they thought to, you know, Doyle could have just brought that down, taken us extra seconds to adjust and maybe bring it down with the other hand. But as it is, they could only pop it up and push on to the grateful recipient.
Yeah, we've seen Ranelagh really get high for a lot of discs, so I believe in them for coming down with those as catches. We've seen that non-stop. You know, a lot of these throws are going high in the wind, and generally they're a very athletic team, so I think they'll be a little bit disappointed with that one. It's always quite bittersweet when you manage to get a hand to it, but of course they go on to score from that same disc. But hopefully lessons will be learned, and they'll understand the Benji mantra that you catch your Ds.
Another one to add into the compilation that we'll put out at some point. Someone do that, by the way. I'm looking not accusingly, suggestively, but not that suggestively.
Suggestively?
Yeah, at our numerous crew, someone should make a catch their D's compilation. That'd be good.
Just to really shame people, is that?
Well, I feel like I've said this so many times, right? And as we all have, and no one gets the message, and it's very, very frustrating.
As a huge one goes deep. Becky has it in her front, and it's a goal! break side, Murphy, and then floats that one out. Huge bid, gets the touch. What a grab! DV!
Help us go electric, become a member.
He's in a great spot. He's in a perfect spot. Yes, his massive head has blocked everything. That was a huge play, but we have seen none of it. Finny, he's done it.
Important messages all round as we're back in play for the second half. Iznogood up 8-6, receiving to begin the second stanza of this contest. Jafar finds Becker Chagnon underneath. Down the sideline, Lucas Bouchon. Bouchon wants to put one out into space. Vanderwoode squares up. Just a little tossed backhand. And Nguyen with the hammer down the far side. No way! No way! Erik Becker Chagnon, you cannot be serious.
That was ridiculous. That was, I saw that going up and I was like, oh, what are they thinking? That's way too aggressive. That's way too aggressive. No one's there and no one's going to be able to get there. And you know what? I was wrong.
I mean, come off. Come off it.
Unbelievable. That's such a great play. Like there's so much, it's so athletic, but there's so much calmness there and so much focus. You know, like he watches it come in, he knows exactly where to put his body. You can see the concentration and that's just a full extension. Flying layout for the score. And he's just, look, he's happy, but like, I would lose my mind if I made that play. That would be like the play of my lifetime.
I would go like full, you know, tear the shirt open, Hulk style, whatever.
Unreal.
Like,
well, he's come to do a victory lap of the field, so okay, maybe he is buzzing from that one a little bit, but that was outrageous.
It's coming down at such a tight angle. It's so vertical. Woof.
I mean, I do think, I stand by my previous reflection, I think that was an incredibly aggressive option. Probably didn't need to come in quite so hot, but yeah, an opportunity to make a hero there. So, you know, all's good at the end of the day.
And again, sometimes, you know, you make those slightly sketchy decisions. Someone makes a great play, and then all of a sudden you are loving life. This is a very bad pull. I mean, technically, it doesn't matter whether it lands slightly out or way out.
Yeah.
It's just out.
Unfortunately, I think that went out incredibly early, so very bad pull. Capital V, capital B, capital P.
Now, will they brick it? I think we've got your answer here. Nope, this is coming in from the sideline.
This is coming in from basically in line with their own brick mark.
Centering pass, oh, it's a little bit too far, but it catches up to it in time. And then quickly dished in the end zone to Murphy. 1-2 passes for the score, 7-9.
Yeah, we see coach walking past for Iznogood looking a little bit unhappy with that one. That's unfortunate when you give him such a short field, just on such a kind of, you know, what is generally like a minor error, but you know, those pulls are so important. Can really set the whole point up, and if you're going to give them an incredibly short field, then they're going to take an incredibly short field. So Ranelagh are doing a great job of moving that quickly and finding the space and putting that in, trying to get momentum back in their field on their side. They're down a few points. Izno have put in a few decisive ones. They've come off with some amazing plays in the last few points. Iznogood. Ranelagh trying to get back in there and show them that they're still in this game and that they're going to fight for all these points too.
In our Windmill organisation group chat, I've been called out by the Swiss draw master Tim, who's currently at home with COVID. Hopefully he recovers in time for the rest of the weekend, for moaning about, oh yeah, apparently Iznogood should win this game by 3, and then Iznogood immediately go up by 3, as if the algorithm knows exactly what it's talking about. Brilliant, thanks everyone. I appreciate the support. I don't know why I ever doubted it. Here's the ball. This is might just drift out of bounds, and yeah, Ryan's does the sensible thing, leaves it. And they'll get it at the brick mark.
Let's go, Robbie, let's go, Robbie, let's go, Robbie. Get ready, get in.
It was a better pull, but there is still some room for improvement.
Oh, massive room for improvement. And a little bit of zone from the Irish lads.
Tight in, look around.
We've tried this at a few points during this game. It's had varying degrees of success. Leung Martin's taken off down this near side, and a wonderful inside flick sides the field in twain and puts Iznogood up 10-7.
Yeah, Izno not looking worried about that zone at all. They had 2 players deep, splitting across the field, each standing wide, right from the pull there, making it really difficult for that deep defender. You know, he's not able to mark both of them, and then doing a great job of just really exploiting as they managed to get the disc through on that far sideline. The deep player for Izno on this side just snuck off, and that was a great throw. What they did there is they didn't make the mistake of the zone point before, where we saw a sort of floaty one go up and the defensive player able to cover that ground and put pressure on the catch. What they did there is they put a low, I think it was an IO flick, an inside flick, low, zippy, straight into his hands. Covered a lot of ground though. That was a decent sort of half-field pass, more or less.
Yeah, there was a lot more intention, I think, behind the pass. Rather than we'll just put this to space, it's like I know exactly where I want this to be and how exactly I want to throw it.
Yeah, the player was in the space to score, so just get it to them directly. Really, really well done, and just not shaken at all by that zone. I think they were really calm on the disc. They found the spaces. They didn't really have to kind of even swing that much. They just sort of moved it through the cup on that far sideline. So maybe something Ranelagh need to take note of how they did that and make sure they're tightening that up for future points and future games.
And this was a little bit of a theme in the French Nationals final that has persisted here. It's a pull out of bounds. Another brick. Oh, immediately tipped. Whoa. Got a hand caught in the cookie jar there. And Simon puts it away. Did Red toe that in bounds? Ranelagh players on the sideline. Pretty confident that he did. Good spirit. Pop back off. Going out towards the sideline for Page. Page to Simon. Begoin Nemo. Oh, nearly interrupted that one. Still looking, still surveying for the options. And Red is right at the front of the zone for 11-7.
Yeah, it was a great sort of heads-up attempt at a poach D there, but the issue with that is then you do leave someone unmarked, and I think he recovered well, but what happened in the stack there was one of the other defensive players saw someone unmarked and kind of stepped off to try and cover it. So even though that player did recover the person they were supposed to be marking, someone ended up free. So it's great if you can pull them off, those poach Ds, but they can be quite dangerous if they don't come off and then you're sort of left scrambling.
Yeah, it's all about that communication. It's fine if you want to, switch, take those spaces. A lot of the time, I advocate it because you can make less work for everyone. And that's smart, to be honest. Like, why run around for ages if you don't have to? But it does require that communication.
Yeah, and particularly in the end zone, in that red zone, right in front of the end zone.
It's so much more difficult to recover.
Yeah, the disc moves quickly typically. People are very focused on getting the score. It can be hard to kind of have that presence of mind to communicate, and it's also often you don't have the actual time because the disc is moving quickly. So hard to do. I mean, a good look. If the did come off, obviously we'd be praising it non-stop. So just unlucky in that one. The score is 7-10 to Iznogood.
I think that should be 11-10. Has our scoreboard not ticked up? Has someone got the little fly zapper?
11-10 in that case.
There we go.
Still close. There we go. Ask and you shall receive. Still close enough. Ranelagh can't say that they're out of this game or anything like that. They're still here. They're still fighting. They're still contesting every pass, every point. Still working hard. Izno obviously have a bit of a comfortable lead now, but it's not unheard of for a team to come back from this kind of scoreline. So let's see if they're able to dig deep, find the connections.
Yeah, about 15 minutes left before that cap comes on, and that is definitely time, especially if they can punch this 0 point in quickly. Hammer over the top, player in plenty of space. That's a really good option there. Finds Stewart. Stewart rips it. This is going to hang for a while towards the sideline. Not sure whether it would have come back in bounds, but enough pressure, make sure that it's definitely not going to.
I think the defensive player did get a hand to that, so that's going to come in where he touched it, rather than a little bit further up where it initially went out.
Yeah, at the very least, Ranelagh can say, well, we made them concede some field position with it, but that's obviously not what they were aiming for. Iznogood back on offense, trying to pull away from the Dubliners. Simon with that tash, floats one out in front for Congre. This has to go surely for U Domfong. Well, he's a freak athlete, but even he can't get that.
Yeah, you can see the devastation on number 15's face. That really just came out of his hand all wrong. You can see the first instant, as soon as he released it, he turned around and just looked very upset. That was absolutely not what he intended to put out there. And of course, that's heartbreak for your teammate who's hustling and working so hard to get down there, to not be rewarded with a nice open pass that they'd earned.
So Ranelagh again, going back to the long shot, and Cambrai makes amends for that throwaway as he gets the better. And now back on offense. I think that was down, and he agrees.
Yeah, that was good spirit that he sort of immediately recognised that, because I think that was actually quite a close one, and it's sometimes quite hard to know in those sorts of plays, but immediately recognising. And a immediate throwaway, unfortunately. That was out of the field.
Yeah, Corcoran was looking for Doyle, and we'll see it again now on the replay. Yep.
Yeah, he would have had to have made a very big play to keep that in, I think. That was a really difficult one, but definitely out.
Low. There's that athleticism we talked about for U Domfong. Playing it quickly, Red finds Cambrai central. Shot. Underneath to Fenrich. Playing quickly. Ruel down the sideline. And Cambrai answers the call. Makes it 12-7.
That was a really beautiful offensive play from Iznogood. Each pass there, they were passing to a free player. The player had made a cut, they'd lost their defender, they'd got free, and they had separation. It just means that they can play like nice and calmly. You know, they have the space, they have the options. They don't need to try and jam it anywhere. I mean, that last pass maybe was a little bit tight. It was hard to see from this angle, but yeah, it was a really nice offensive point for them there. And I think that looked quite different to what we've seen from Ranelagh on offense. You know, Ranelagh having to really try and desperately scrape to get the disc into some new hands, whereas Izno are just, you know, they're quite calm. I think even at the beginning of that point, they point at the dump, and the dump says, okay, no problem, I'll get free. They put in a few cuts, and then they get that separation, and they are free and available for that pass. Something that Iznogood did very well, and perhaps Ranelagh are struggling to kind of generate the same.
Iznogood now 5 points up, 12-7 the score. Having a quick look around the division. Other teams at the top end, Foy currently number 1 into a straw. Probably not after this round, as they're currently down 10-6 to Clapham. KFK looking to rebound back from disappointment early this morning. 13-7 up on Devon. Mooncatchers 12-8 up on Flying Angels as well. Here's another put. It's McCreary this time, looking deep. Layout available. Did he make it? Oh, brilliant stuff from Pearce. There is some discussion about whether or not he's in the end zone.
The disc was up. He caught the disc. That's not in dispute. It's whether or not he perhaps, whether his first point of contact was in the end zone, or if maybe it was outside or on the line. If he was outside or on the line, then it's not in, and he'll need to take it from the end zone line. Yeah,
I think they're saying that maybe one of those knees touched first, and they were not in the end zone, so it's being taken from the end zone line. Still a brilliant play by Pearce. Will Ranelagh make the most of it and punch it in? Stall count rising, looking to get the dump off. Just about fine. McCreary with the hammer to the far side. Tipped on, and surely not. Not again. No, not this time.
Oh, devastating for Ranelagh. Such a big play. So hard to then like sort of get your nerves together enough to put that in, and Izno were really putting a lot of pressure on there. So unfortunately, after such a great effort, not able to get the score.
Izno rip it down the far sideline. Can Simon catch up with it? He can, and he can keep it in bounds as well, although he did go trailing edge, and I must admit, that did make me throw up in my mouth a bit. It was bred into me from an early ultimate age about not going trailing edge if you can.
Ugh.
Ugh.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, we see it on the replay.
Oh, that's a close one.
That is close. They're calling it in and into the end zone now as well. Striking immediately.
Despite that disgusting trailing edge catch, they managed to get a nice point out of it. So
I mean, he calculated it well. I just wondered if there's a way he could have calculated it to not go trailing edge. That's one of my bugbears. It doesn't matter. I'm not sure that his teammates mind, because it worked.
Yeah, my philosophy is a catch, but we can agree to disagree on this one. I think he did a great job to think about keeping his toes in there. That was definitely a close one.
There was a lot going on there.
And to do that while executing a trailing edge catch is commendable.
So 13-7, you can see the Euro disc tent in the background. The official disc provider of Windmill this year. All the volunteers have been given the kind of the logos in different colours, and the colours are like they're the different pride flags. So I've seen like one in the bisexual colours, seen some asexual ones going around, things like that. It's nice, good little idea.
Yeah, there's also some really incredible flags and colour combinations within the different pride flags. So everyone looks great.
Ranelagh coming out back on offense. Just trying to take things slowly at the start here. And now they're picking up pace. Can they find a way through before the defence can get set? No, they put for Murphy. Sails, and it's over his head.
I think that throw was not adjusted for the wind. I think if they had just taken that extra second to adjust, the shape of that looked really nice. I think they put it out right around that defender, right in front of the cutter. But that is prime area for the wind to pick it up, which I think is what happened. So whether it's like that throw is not an option right now in these conditions, or if it's just you need to make sure you're taking that extra second to set yourself for that option and make sure you're executing it in a way that's not going to get picked up, I can't say, but definitely that was a nice option, I think, but just not executed quite right.
And as this game ticks on, you feel like you're seeing that experience of Iznogood come into play a little bit more. Wanted the deep shot. Has to reset it instead. It's a big figure of shock. Carlton College alum. Big one, Nemo. Might put this deep. He has put it deep. Was looking for the IO flick, but I think this is going to blade out of bounds. Fonrich makes the catch, and he sticks the landing as well. Well, I feel like they got away with that one a little bit, but it worked. Cruel to the end zone. Fenrich toes in brilliantly for the goal. Two nice toe-ins there to make it 14-7.
Izno looking a lot more under pressure in that point than we've seen them. I think they really got caught at the back on their end zone line, having to pass the disc backwards, having to swing it around, but not making much forward motion. Ranelagh doing a really good job just to really try and keep that defensive pressure and like repressive weight of defense on them at that side. Worked really well for a few points, and that long put, as you said, it went up, and it wasn't pretty. It didn't look like it was executed in the way that it perhaps had been intended. yeah, it wasn't a great look, I think. Good to open up the field, but the execution of that option wasn't great. Still managed to bring it down and keep it in, and then play from there. But yeah, that definitely looked like a shakier offense than we've seen, and perhaps that was a testament to some of the Ranelagh defensive pressure there.
So 14-7 it is now for Iznogood, just 1 point away from victory. And this was really close for pretty much the entire first half of the game. And in the second half, Iznogood have certainly had other ideas.
Scoreboard, it should be 14-7, please. Thank you.
Parsh with the pull. Going with this blading outside in backhand, which Ranelagh commit a whole team of people to stop the roll. Looking, cheeky backhand towards this sideline. And flick deep. Parsh looks like he's got this all day, and he does indeed get there before the intended target. Number 59 shirt of Luke Doyle.
I think that, I'm not sure why that option went up. That was definitely defensive player had position, so just not what Ranelagh need at this moment.
Yeah, maybe some slightly scrambled thinking behind that. Red comes back towards the disc. Opens the arm, looking deep. Parsh climbs the ladder for the win. 15-7 final score. Iznogood rampant over Ranelagh in the end.
Yeah, Iznogood classic show of their athleticism and, you know, the game they've played. What's that? They've played 22 points now, and they're still able to make those plays, still able to get high and work hard. So really, really great showing. Izno really putting the heat in that second half, coming out strong, not giving Ranelagh the opportunity to get back into the game and to kind of claw back those few points that they were down. You know, they were still within distance, but Izno really just made sure that they kept the pressure high, and Ranelagh at this time, unfortunately, were unable to respond.
So, fun game, was tight in the first half before Izno ran away in the second. 15-7 final score. Before this pitch resumes with BN1 versus Lowell in the mixed division, you can catch the end of 3SB versus Seagulls going on the pitch behind us. But for Rachel Douglas, I'm Benji Reese. Final score here is Iznogood 15, Ranelagh 7, and we'll see you on the other side.
Wow!
Alti.tv